Hi, welcome back to another episode of Parade Lab Podcast. And this week we are digging into Imola, which is the start of our European triple header. And I guess to get us started, Sophie, maybe you can just give me your quick reaction to the race before we go into our podium.
I thought Imola was a pretty good one. I like the Italian races because I really just like seeing what the Ferrari fans are like in the crowd, just the sea of red and the craziness. And yeah, I always like the Italian one. So Imola was pretty good, pretty chaotic in terms of the weekend, I think. Good race, fairly entertaining, lots of passing, few people off in the gravel, that kind of thing. It was a pretty good one. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit unexpected, maybe with the final result, and we'll probably get into that. And same as you, I thought there were quite a few overtakes that were interesting and a lot of action and things going on. And then I also said it's interesting to see, obviously, there were very high expectations on the Ferraris for that weekend,
No pressure.
and also on Kimi, because Kimi was kind of like a hometown hero, first Italian driver in a while. And I think it's in Bologna, and I think he actually might be from there. So it was like
Yeah.
real hometown, so obviously he must have been feeling a lot of pressure too. So yeah, I think that was the sort of like interesting stuff going into that race.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think Kimmy had his whole school group there. It must have been his class. It looked like a field trip. And so they all got to go in the paddock with him and they were playing like kicking a soccer ball and stuff around in the paddock. And he got a little bit of hate for it. I thought it was so cute because I mean, if my classmate was a Formula One driver, I would want to go and see where they work. But the former driver, is it Jack Villeneuve? He
Mhm.
said like that's so unprofessional. He shouldn't be taking his friends to work. Like that's not what you do. This is his office.
Was he saying
But
that
I mean,
was he saying it seriously or just in a
I
joking
think
way?
it was serious. Well, I read it. I didn't see it in an interview. I read the quote, but a little bit mean, I thought, because let him have some fun. He's showing off his dream job in his hometown. Like it was so cool. Yeah, but it was exciting for Kimmy. But the amount of pressure is just crazy to think about.
Hmm.
Just can't comprehend what that would be like for him.
Yeah, it's just so much. It's a lot to take on, especially being so young. Well, maybe we can go into our podiums. And what was your number three?
My P3 was that it was quite a chaotic qualifying session. It was a bit of a stressful one to watch with quite a few big crashes and a few like surprise sort of standouts during it, which was exciting. But yeah, it was chaotic. So Yuki had a big
Mm.
crash that looked awful. Luckily, he was okay. And so there were lots of messages of the drivers that like had just seen the video. I think it was Liam said, I've just seen the video. Is he okay? I think like Charles and stuff were driving past and asking because it really did look like a bad one. And I thought Williams did really well. They both got into Q3. Carlos started P6 and Alex P7. That was exciting to watch.
Hmm.
Q2, no good for the Italian fans. I think that's one of the things why I like watching the Italian races so much. It was not their day because they had Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, both in the Ferraris out in Q2. And then they also had Kimi Antonelli out in Q2, which was a little bit uncharacteristic for him. Like, I
Mm.
think he probably thought he was going to do a little bit better. But yeah, not good for the Tifosi watching or any Italian motorsport fan. So yeah, it was a chaotic qualifying, but it made it fun. It made it for an exciting race because the starting grid was a little bit unexpected, I think was the word you said before, and I think that keeps things exciting. Yeah, so that was my P3.
Yeah, it was. It was a very, I guess, chaotic is the word, qualifying. Yuki's crash. Yeah, I sort of put that down as one of the items to chat about anyway.
Mm.
It was horrible. Like,
Hmm.
the fact that he jumped out of the car afterwards, I was like, wow, okay. And I heard Max on the radio saying, immediately, is he okay? And his team just came
Mm.
back straight away and said, yes, he's okay. He got out of the car.
Yeah.
But then Max said he actually saw the footage afterwards afterwards, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that was actually. Are you sure he's okay? Because that was actually quite a bad crash." And so obviously, yeah, like red flags and things were interrupted. I also, I mean, I agree with everything you said about like obviously Ferrari's out and Kimi, um, and didn't get into Q3, so that's not ideal. But the Aston Martins, like that was really surprising. They had one of their
Mm.
best qualifyings, I think, of the season. They were, I think, P5 and P8 with Alonso and Stroll. So I was like, okay, that was surprising to see them up there.
Yeah, that was a
Uh,
fun one. Yeah.
yeah, and then the other thing with the Williams is that Carlos was actually Science was like number one in Q2. So he set
Hmm.
like the fastest lap and he did really well. I think they were chatting to him and he was saying that he was actually quite disappointed because he felt like going into Q3 with the lap that he had set previously, he could have been at a higher, even higher starting position. So it's just really
Yeah.
interesting with Williams now where a season ago, you would have been like, what? This is insane. And even with results like that, they're still kind of like disappointed because they feel like maybe they could do more. So that's
Yeah.
really interesting, I think,
Yeah.
to see with Williams is that they sort of are hungry and kind of want more from
Mm.
the car and themselves. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but I don't know if you mentioned this later, but I did think it was really great that Yuki started P20 and he managed to get a point. That
Hmm.
was a really, really good comeback for him, which was
He did
awesome.
very well. Yeah, it kept things entertaining because it really did switch up the order quite a bit. That yeah,
Mm,
Yuki obviously had to do quite a lot of work to get to where he ended up,
yeah,
and yeah, it was cool to have like the Aston Martins in the mix.
yeah.
One thing I was thinking about Williams is like yes, it's very cool that they get into Q3. Do you think it's like surprising how do you think of it? Do you think of it as Carlos? Do you think of it as Carlos in Q3 or Williams in Q3? Because I think it's cool for the team to be there, but is it really that like, oh my God, Carlos is there? Because I sort of expect him to be up there. Do you like differentiate the two? Or
I think I did massively, like when he said he signed to Williams and, he
mm,
was part of that team, then it was like, okay, Carlos. But they've been doing well. Like, Alex has been, performing or sometimes, outperforming Carlos this season and they're consistently performing. So it's not just Carlos now, it's sort of the team. But
yeah.
yeah, I did. I think in the beginning I was like really hoping for good things from him because I feel like he is just such a good driver. But obviously he needed a car that could perform because even
Mm,
if he's super great, like and he's in I don't know, a salvo or something at the moment, then that wouldn't allow him to get into the points. And so I think it's been surprising to see that Williams, as a team and with the car, have actually seemed to have delivered to allow Carlos to do this stuff.
mm,
So yeah, I did expect him to be there. Um, and now I'm not so surprised that Williams is doing well. I guess
mm.
it's like kind of like expected because they are I think P5 in the constructors championship at the moment. So you almost expect them to be the next team after the top ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing very well.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Which is a good segue into my P3, which was Alex Albon. He ended that race P5, and he sort of battled the Ferraris. At some point, it was sort of like Alex versus the Ferraris. He was trying to overtake, I think, Charles to get to P4. But then Lewis came behind him and ended up, taking that spot, and he went off track a bit. And then Charles ended up giving that place back to him. I think they hadn't come back on whether it was a penalty or anything, but I don't think he wanted to be investigated and maybe get something worse. So
Mm.
yeah, Alex ended up finishing P5 in between two Ferraris, P4 Lewis and P6 Charles. So yeah, I think it just speaks to what we were saying about Williams doing pretty well. And Alex feels like he's been consistently delivering some good results.
Yeah. Well, that was actually my P2. So I will change my one. Yeah, but Alex, I've written Alex Albon was on the charge. He was just
Amazing.
fun
We're
to
going,
watch. Like he
yeah.
he was just so good. Yeah, and his battle with the Ferrari was just exciting. I loved it. Yeah, he's just in there. He's just getting the results. He's giving it like a really good go. I think
Mm.
he's not just like how we said like sometimes George is kind of just he's there, like he's just cruising. I think when Alex is there, you sort of like know he's coming. Like he really puts in the work and he's like exciting to watch because he really gets stuck in to get amongst it all. Yeah, so I thought it was very nice for him to get P5. I just thought it was a good result and it's cool for the team. Yeah, so that was my P2, but I will change my one to instead be one thing that I've written down as a note was the pass that Lando did on Oscar in lap 58 was so cool to watch, but in like a really frightening kind of don't crash kind of way. Um, yeah, I can't remember where it was on the track, but it was just like it was either going to end well for Lando or really badly for both of them. And I just can't imagine what it would be like being on the pit wall, watching your two cars, no matter how much trust you have in both of the drivers.
Yep.
Nerve-wracking, so nerve-wracking because if they have either of them have a DNF, then Max will catch up and obviously Max got some points in this race. It's just risky. So I just think it's interesting. It'll be interesting further on in the season how they navigate that.
Mm.
If it's something that they have to radio in and say, like, this one's Oscars, this one's Lando's, like, stay away from each other because
Yeah.
they really say, like, we go racing. And it's cool, like, it's fun because it would be a little bit boring if it was like a guaranteed winner all the time. But they could make it a little bit less frightening to watch, I think. Yeah, so the risky pass from Lando, I think, has just uncovered this McLaren maybe team orders kind of something brewing, which we've talked about before. But yeah, cool to watch, but they're
Yeah.
probably writing it down somewhere, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I've got that one down too somewhere. We'll we'll see where it appears. But yeah, I mean, I think they asked Zach about it, and they've also asked him on previous occasions, and he has
Mm,
said his two drivers are allowed to race,
yep.
provided they do it like responsibly. And don't take each other out. But I also heard the commentators when Lando did that pass, like that was really, really close. They were like, we need to see the replay. Like, did they even touch? Because that was very close and it was towards the end of the race, right? So,
Hmm.
as you mentioned, I think there was quite a bit of risk involved if something happened, because then one or
Mm,
both of are out. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that means for the rest of the season as we see more of this happening. But I was kind of pleased to see that Lando did it because I actually didn't think that he would try that.
yeah.
And it kind of showed that he had, it took confidence.
Confidence.
Exactly.
Mm,
And I think that was
hmm
kind of lacking a bit from Lando. And obviously, Oscar's had won like four races, three in a row. I think, was it four in a row that he'd been on? I can't even
I've
remember.
lost I've lost count.
But he had won four races, and
Yeah.
I think Lando's confidence had taken a knock, or must have, from all of that. And so to see
Hmm.
him like going against his teammate was good. It was a good sign, I think, for him in his race for this championship with
Mm,
Oscar, because if he wants to get ahead, he's going to have to do things like that.
yeah.
So yeah.
What was your P2?
So
Did I
my
steal it?
you haven't fully stolen it. It's still
Okay.
there. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have some similar stuff. But
Hmm.
my P2 was Lewis's climbing up the position. So
Hmm.
Ferrari had a shocker of a qualifying in Imola. I mean, they were P12 and P11. So Lewis started P12. And Charles was P11, and Lewis ended the race P4. So that was
Hmm.
like eight positions that he managed to move up in order to get them. He was just one spot away from the podium. And so that was fantastic. I mean, it looked bad. There were so many memes. It was terrible after qualifying. And to recover in that way, to kind of get almost the best that they could, I think, with their car and the season they were having to get to P4 was really great. And it was nice to also see him so happy in the post-race interviews because usually,
Yeah.
he's quite like frustrated or it's like a pretty bad position. But I think he was just really happy with the fact that he was able to make up all those places. So yeah, I was happy for him and the Tifosi fans and the people there. At least also Kimi went out in that race. He didn't even finish. So
Mm,
I think that was great. And Charles wasn't that far behind him in P6. So overall, they
yeah.
recovered really well, but Lewis really moved up in the ranks.
Yeah, it was a very good recovery. Also, Lewis like quite rapidly got past, was it three people in like
Mm,
one go? Because was that when Albon was fighting with Charles? Like someone went off
he
and then
got
all of a sudden it was Lewis just through, which was cool.
Yeah, he got into P5 there, I think, and then he ended up
Mm,
going ahead of Charles and I think getting into P4. So maybe it was before
mm,
that. But yeah, as Charles and Albon were doing their stuff, he just like gapped in and went
mm,
past, which was
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Was it team orders past Charles or?
I can't remember. I was just trying to think because I don't know if
Mm,
Charles just let him through and made it easy or whether he
mm,
seemed quicker anyway, so they were going to let him go. But he
mm.
went past Charles like quite easily.
It looked
Um,
smooth.
yeah, it was, and I can't
Mm,
remember if it was team orders or whether that he was just faster. But yeah, it reminded me a bit of Lewis's famous saying, which is like "Still I rise" or "Still we rise," and then you
hmm.
just keep going. And so yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Let's
Yeah.
see if anything potentially can happen in this season. They've got to find their groove, and I don't know. I think he's got to get to terms with the car and also the
The
comms, the
team.
team. The team needs to. I don't know. I've told you this before, but in work, at least we use the saying all the time with teams where you've got to form, you've got to storm, you've got to norm, and then you have to perform. And I think
Hmm.
I mean, they've obviously formed, but I think they're still in this sort of like storming, maybe starting to norm phase. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
definitely the storming kind of like you're still getting used to each other, and then you've got to norm and level out, and then can you only really start performing. So I think it's a
Hmm.
similar thing that you see with these teams.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have heard that before. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good way. Maybe we map out where he is throughout the season. He's moved up to the next stage.
hmm hmm
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit of a hard watch. Him, yeah, just merging into the team a little bit.
hmm
Probably not as smoothly as people would have hoped for, but
Yeah.
yeah, he'll get there in the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
So
that was a good P2.
that's
I
my
liked that
P2.
one.
What is your P1?
My P1 is related to the P1 of the race, and it is Max Verstappen on top. I wrote that it was simply lovely, but it was a good race. Like he was just brave at the start. I mean, not that he's ever not, but right at the start, he just like took the lead and just sort of ran away with it pretty much, it seemed. So he seems to get the special ones down. Like they've got it on a calendar and go,
Yeah.
okay, so you're definitely going to win this one, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Like you kind
400
of need
races with the
to.
team. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's quite cool.
Interesting.
Mm.
I wonder if he gets like a special bonus or something if he wins like
I would
important
love to know how the
races.
bonus structures
Yeah,
work.
exactly.
Mm.
Your P1 is very similar to my P1, so I'll just say
Hmm.
mine and then I can comment on yours and talk about it. But it's sort of related, but obviously brings in Max. But my P1 was overtakes on Oscar in this race. And
Mm.
the most important one and the first one was Max's move on turn one, like lap one on
Hmm.
Oscar, that I think ended up winning him the race, right? So when you were talking about Max on top, and I just think that was when he did it, it just looked so unexpected. And I like it. It was really bold. It was a very
Mm,
bold overtake. I don't think Oscar was expecting it. I don't think George was expecting it because George actually got quite a good start behind Oscar and it looked like he was going to go through. But then Max just came around and he just went, he like lunged and just went for it and like pushed
hmm
Oscar and Oscar just had to stay in and he went. And it just made me think about when we were discussing stuff around how Max races Oscar and how he races Lando and does he race
hmm
them differently. But I think in that move, it kind of showed that maybe Max has is kind of like, oh, he's sort of like learning Oscar's game, and it's like, okay, if I want to overtake and get in front of Oscar, then I've kind of got to do something that maybe he's not expecting and is slightly risky, and you've really got to push it to the limit with Oscar, and he did that. So I really, yeah, I thought that was good even for Max. So that
Mm,
was brilliant from him to do that. And then he got ahead and, he ended up winning the race. I don't think the McLarens expected him to have the pace that he did.
no.
Maybe Oscar thought even if he lets him through, he'll be able to catch him up again. But it didn't end up happening. And yeah, Max ended up winning. So that was great.
Mm,
And then my second one on the overtakes for Oscar relates to what you've already said. But it was then Lando overtaking Oscar on, I think, lap 58 or something, like towards the end, where
hmm
again, quite a bold move, like on Oscar. I didn't
Big
think he
time.
was going to do that. I don't know if Oscar was expecting it. So maybe the way to overtake Oscar is if it's really like unexpected, and he doesn't think that's going to be something that you would usually do. But I think Lando was on fresher tires, and so maybe he had a bit more speed at that point. I can't
Mm.
remember, but
They were on slightly different strategies, weren't they?
yeah, but yeah, I thought that was good. But yeah, well done, Max, and also well done, Lando, because in the end they both ended up, ahead of Oscar effectively,
Mm,
who was on pole, right? Oscar was first, and so he went down to
hmm
third, and we had Max first and Lando second. Um,
mm.
so
Poor
yeah.
Oscar.
I know. Especially
Yeah.
after because I think maybe our expectations were really high for him too, because he just has seemed like he hasn't put a foot wrong. Like he's just
Just been on a
executed so
roll.
well. Exactly. So it's kind of seeing a little bit of what's the word? Like chinks in his armor or something where it's like,
Mm,
oh, okay, there is actually a way to kind of like get past him.
I saw a funny meme and you just reminded me of it before. The famous quote of Fernando, and he said, I knew he would break because he has a wife and two kids at home.
I saw
And
that
so
one.
I saw a picture of a photo of Oscar. It must have been Oscar and Fernando, a
Mhm.
photo of them together. And it was like, I thought you said he would like slow down now because he has a wife and two kids at home. And I'm pretty sure it was them standing there like this kind of thing. So that just reminded me of that then, yeah.
I
He
saw that
well,
meme
he
too.
either more
Yeah.
wasn't expecting Max to just go past
Exactly.
him.
I
Yeah.
saw that as like official statement from Oscar. I thought he would break because, he's got a wife
Mm.
and kids at home. But I didn't know where
Mm.
that soundbite or that sentence came from. So yeah, if
Yeah,
it's from
it was
Oscar,
like
that's
a
interesting.
famous, I think it was talking about Michael Schumacher.
Okay.
Alonso talking about Schumacher. So yeah, it was
Funny.
quite a while
Yeah.
ago, but yeah, sort of funny.
Okay.
Mm.
So those are our podiums from
hmm
Imola. Some of it are quite similar.
Yeah.
I guess any standouts from your side that you haven't mentioned yet?
I think one of the other standouts would be how you said Yuki, how he started
Mm,
at the very back and then he ended up getting a point. Um, I am also once again very happy for Isaac Hadjar because I thought he did very well and he got P9. Yeah, he's doing well with getting the points and he's just fun to watch. He's cool to watch. Um, yeah, so I thought good on him once again that he's sort of as a he's proving himself as one of the better rookies, I would
hmm.
say. And he's really proving that he's deserving of his seat. Maybe even that he would maybe get the Red Bull seat next season. Yeah, I've seen a few things about that, and if he keeps up the way he's going, I think yeah, I would quite like to see that. So he was a standout for me, I think. I just really like him. I've seen so many things of people saying, I think Isaac's like becoming my favorite rookie. Like, can we claim him sort of thing? But he is. He's cool. I really like him. So good on him.
Yeah, I feel like he's sort of doing just really well consistently, you know? Like
Mm,
obviously he had that horrible like DNS, like did not even start the race in Melbourne, which was a horrible way to start your season. And
mm,
could also kind of become the thing you're known for in a way and could really affect you as a rookie.
mm,
Like, you know, maybe you put so much pressure on yourself and you are not able to perform after that. But he kind of just put it behind him and has been collecting points and just doing really, really well.
mm,
And he's not in, you know, if you compare him to, I guess, like a Kimi or something who's in a better car,
mm.
um, he's not in like the best car, but he's delivering results.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really good to see.
Yeah, he's doing very well. My other point is related a little bit to Kimmy in that Mercedes were off to a all right start this weekend. With George getting P3 in qualifying was quite cool.
Mm.
But then he ended up in P7, so it sort of just went away from him, and Kimmy obviously didn't finish the race. So I think we were full of hope at the start for Mercedes, and then they sort of just fizzled out in this one. So I hope they do better in the coming ones because I like how we're just branding them as this consistent thing. So if they're not consistent, that wrecks that storyline.
I know. You were saying we're full of hope. I mean, the thing with the Mercedes is like I think we were both saying we did like just did not register them as a contender.
Mm,
You know, it was all about McLaren and Red Bull and Ferrari, and really didn't think that Mercedes would be like second in the
mm,
constructors, you know, at this stage at all. So yeah, they completely surprised me.
mm,
And yeah, I don't know. Is this going to be them on a downward spiral now? They sort of peaked. They peaked at the start, and then you're not
maybe.
going to see it. I don't know. Let's see what happens there.
Yeah, they're one to watch for sure. So I am now paying closer attention to them
Hmm.
than I would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
My only thing to add, because I added a few things already when we were chatting, but was that, you know, Aston Martin qualified really well, but Alonso just has not been able to get points. You know, I feel like he's just been so unlucky, like, so this
Mm,
season. So I don't know. I hope that he's able to get himself some points this season, in the next race or, you know, as part of
mm,
this triple header, because you know, if he's able to qualify well, it would be great to see him like pick up at least a point
yeah.
going forward. Yeah.
I hope that happens in the last race of the triple header, the Spanish Grand Prix being his home race, because
Mm,
that would just be awesome, wouldn't it? Like if he
yeah.
got, let's say he gets, I don't know, P5 or something and
Yeah.
got some points, it would be really like big news. So yeah, I hope he um ends up doing better. But I think maybe they've put more money on, or they have put more money on next year and
I'm
having
betting on
Adrian
that.
Newey. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it would be nice to see Aston just in the mix really,
Hmm.
because it was refreshing to see them this time out in qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rooting for them to do something.
Well, that actually relates to my meme of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of Fernando, a picture of his face from like the Lego race, and it
Mm-hmm.
says pushing both Ferraris out of Q3 in their home race using a green tractor. And there he is there.
Yeah,
Because
nice.
that's effectively what they did. You know, they ended up being P5 and P8, and the Ferraris were out, like in
Mm-hmm.
P11 and P12. And actually, I mean, I just saw this. This isn't my meme of the week, but I thought that was funny related to them. Is someone just scratched out the ones there? You know, 'cause you think that you're reading something wrong. Like it should be P1 and P2, but it was P11 and P12, which was
Yeah.
so bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought Aston did well to get themselves into Q3 in qualifying.
Yeah, it was nice to see. My meme of the week is probably a little bit of a downer. I'll show it to you and then I'll read it and I'll put it on the screen. It's one of Charles. It says Formula One driver Charles Leclerc visits
I
orphanage.
saw that.
This is a quote. It's heartbreaking to look into those sad, hopeless eyes, said one of the kids.
I saw that orphanage one, and I was actually gonna put it because there were so many Ferrari
Yeah.
ones, especially after qualifying. Like they were, but yeah, that's that one was so
Yeah.
funny.
When I saw that, oh, it cracked me up. I loved that. That was a really good one. Yeah, poor guy, like the whole team, they take so many hits, don't they? And then they get all the memes and it's just entertaining. But yeah, I loved that one. So that was by far my meme of the week. Yeah.
I feel like
Mm,
Charles should know the drill by now because, this isn't his first
yeah.
time. I think probably last year they had a good season, but it came through also right at the end where they were like,
Mm,
competing McLaren. Maybe there were a few here and there, but I mean, the year before that or the year before that, Charles had some like horrible things where he was doing really well and then all of a sudden it was bad, and there were some like horrible strategy calls. Like we're laughing at some of
hmm
the radio messages now with Lewis, but that's where all those memes came with like,
mm.
Ferrari team with like clown kind of faces and like such a joke.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's a
yeah,
good one. That's a classic, that one.
yeah, it's just
Without
so
looking on at the pit
it's
wall.
just so hit and miss, like you don't quite know
Mm,
what you're gonna get with them. And so, yeah, I definitely think there's like team stuff that they need to sort out and work so that everything kind of clicks again for them.
yeah.
In a way that I think McLaren's got it right now, where they're their team and the car and whatever they're doing, they've got a formula
Mm,
that's kind of working.
hmm
And I don't think Ferrari has quite unlocked that yet. So yeah.
No,
Mm.
no. And I hope they do, but it's also maybe likely that they don't do that, essentially. A little bit negative to think about, but if they keep just doing these things, like they're going to run out of letters in the alphabet.
I mean, that was also something. Yeah. But I think the more worrying thing
Mm.
is the car. So, I've heard Charles talk a lot about the fact that the car just doesn't have the pace. It's not able to compete with the McLarens. And it's, and
hmm
maybe on a certain track it'll do slightly better. But
hmm
then we saw Lewis like really overtaking a lot of people in Imola and getting into
hmm
P4, and he started from the back. So if he was in a better
hmm
qualifying position on that track, I wonder what would have happened. So yeah, I'm not quite sure whether the car is that bad and they just won't be able to get a win.
Mm.
Obviously we want them to try and get onto the podium and improve to that extent, but
Yeah,
can they get into a winning position against the McLarens?
yeah,
Um, I'm not
yeah.
not sure.
Why, I hope so. I guess that's maybe a good segue into thinking ahead to the next race, which will
Hmm.
be Monaco, the most famous one on the calendar. Because it's obviously Charles' home race, and I saw must have been an interview of him after this race, and someone said like, "How are you thinking it's going to go in Monaco?" And he said, "Well, our car's no good in slow corners, and Monaco is all slow corners, so I'm not feeling very good." So how do you think they're going to do? Mm.
I didn't hear that interview, but I was
I
thinking,
can't remember if it was a press pen one or
yeah.
where I read it, but yeah.
I mean, it's Charles's home race. So, and he
hmm
won Monaco last year. And so I think he's
hmm
going to want it really badly. Like, first of all, he's going to really, really want to win that.
Mm,
I actually think that the race, Imola's race for the Ferraris, not the qualifying, but the race was positive. So for
hmm
me, that was like a positive signal that, okay, they would have finished P4 and P6, no, P4 and P5 actually, because if Charles didn't let Alex through. And that's basically just behind the McLarens and Max, who you
Hmm.
can't discount. So I feel
Yep.
like that's good. That was really good going for them, especially coming from the back of the grid. So I feel more positive than Charles for him going into Monaco. So I'm interested to see, what happens there. I
Mm,
think he can get a podium potentially if, they continue in the way that they did in this race.
yeah. I hope he gets a podium. He also should have like a bit of a home advantage, right?
Mm,
Like that must be a thing because he's always qualified very well there, and then he
yeah.
gets unlucky at the start of the race or the formation lap. Like things just go wrong for him. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about the qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Oh,
guess we'll
yes.
see what
I
happens.
mean,
But
Monaco is all about the qualifying.
yeah.
Um, I am also curious to see what happens with Oscar and Lando,
Mm.
post
Mm-hmm.
this race now. So obviously Max ended up winning, Lando was
Yeah.
second, Oscar was third. Lando made that move on Oscar, and I wonder if, kind of Lando's able to build on that confidence potentially going
Mm-hmm.
into the next race in this triple header. And I wonder if Oscar's just like slightly not unsettled, but he was on really good form, and then there was this break,
Mm.
and there was this race, and so let's see if we
Mm.
see Oscar like back on top, or whether we see Lando sort of coming into his own a bit more. So keeping an
Mm.
eye on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see Oscar as someone who gets rattled easily.
Mm,
But I also see Lando as someone who once he has a little bit of confidence, then he
it
feels way
builds.
better and more
Yeah.
confident moving forward. So I could, yeah, sort of see both of those scenarios playing out, I guess. Yeah, so it'll be an exciting one to watch. Or qualifying, well, the race will be long. Maybe it will
Okay.
rain or something because the weather's a little bit spotty,
Yeah.
the forecast. So
Hmm.
don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
We shall see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's us then until
Mm-hmm.
Monaco. So, yep, thank you for listening, and we will see you at the next one.
See you at the next one.